Previously, a low-level adventuring group returned to the city of Ardenfell in the aftermath of a job together. They'd had a fun and bloody time dealing with a bear that had a taste for people. Well, some of them considered it fun at least. The group is made up of a tiefling named Obsidian, they them, a half-elf named Ingrid, she her, a human named Lacey, she her, an elf named Aaron, they them, and a human named Will, he him. They made their way to the tavern where they'd initially been hired, where Obsidian somewhat terrified the poor bartender with their loving description of blood and death. Still, the group got paid, which was the important thing. As the person most familiar with the city, it was up to Obsidian to find them somewhere to stay, and as the group knew better than to go anywhere Obsidian considered fun, they reluctantly arranged rooms at a boring inn. After dropping off their things, the group headed back out in search of more work. While passing through the marketplace, they were offered a somewhat ludicrous amount of gold to carry some glass animals to another stall a few minutes' walk away. The group could easily tell there was a lot more to it than the shopkeep was letting on, and several of them, correctly, assumed he was trying to sell some stolen goods to a fence without going through the thieves' guild that ran all crime in the city. Still, he offered them 150 gold for 10 minutes of work. What was the worst that could happen? They did manage to threaten him into giving them 200 gold instead, though. The fence was very confused when the group showed up, but she still paid them. Will managed to talk her into paying 200 gold more than expected, and he quickly pocketed the rest. The group made their way back and got the 200 gold they'd been promised before heading off again. Ingrid found them a job outside the city dealing with wolves attacking farms. The group decided to spend the night at the inn since it was getting late and then head out the next morning. On the way back, they noticed that the stall of the somewhat hapless thief had been abandoned, and there was a sign left behind that seemed to imply that the Thieves' Guild had in fact figured out someone was cheating on them. They made it back to the inn, and several of them noticed that it was unusually empty. They decided to keep watches that night, just in case. The night passed uneventfully, although it did get oddly cold for a while. The next morning, they headed out. The day passed mostly uneventfully, although they had some fun trying to cross a rickety bridge that led to Obsidian taking a swim in the river below. Luckily, they'd been holding onto a rope at the time, so it was easy to pull them back out of the water. The group eventually reached the small hamlet that was having wolf trouble, and Aaron asked for permission to speak to the sheep who'd witnessed the wolf attack, which definitely raised a few eyebrows. The sheep pointed the group in the direction of a fjord an hour or so away, and they headed off in that direction. At the fjord, they discovered a lizard-like person who was clearly controlling the wolves. The fight didn't last long, as Will discovered that sending magic missiles straight into people's and wolves' faces was a good way to end things quickly. They headed back to the hamlet to tell the farmers what had happened, and they were given room in the barn to sleep for the night. Some small children may have been terrified in the process. And that is where we left off.